Guys, welcome to my channel. So today, this is kind of a part 2. If you saw my previous video, you saw where I showed you how I bleached the knots on this 13x6 18 HD frontal. And now we're about to pluck it. So what you see me doing here is I sprayed the frontal down with water. I did pin it to my canvas head first so that I could get a clear picture of like where my hairline was going to be. And then I sprayed it down with water to make it a little easier to pluck. And then I'm starting to section off a very small part of my edges. So before you start plucking, you don't want to start at the very beginning. You want to kind of section off and give yourself some grace. And this is what we're going to call this. We're going to call this a grace part. So when we make our grace part, I sectioned it off into 3 sections, both sides and in the middle. I braided them to get them out of the way. And then I'm going to go into plucking. So I'm combing all the hair back first, and then I'm starting at the bottom. You're going to pluck at an angle, and then the amount of space in between plucking is the same amount of spaces at how wide you see that those tweezers are. That's the amount of space that you want to leave in between each section that you pluck. So as you see here, I started at the very bottom. I kind of skipped a space, and then I plucked into another section, skipped a space, and I went and did this throughout the entire side before I moved on to the other side. And big emphasis on taking your time with this, especially if you haven't done this before. If you haven't done this part before, then you wouldn't be able to replace the hair if you overpluck. So just take your time. Another tip that I want to give you guys is to use tweezers that are dull. I know if you have already plucked your frontals before and you kind of know what you're doing, then yes, it makes it easier to kind of just move a little faster when your tweezers are pretty sharp or they're new. But for beginners, I recommend, this is a personal preference for me, I just recommend you using some dull tweezers because it makes it a little difficult to kind of tear and rip your frontal. If you have dull tweezers, you can kind of take your time and move throughout, and you don't have to worry about messing anything up. Do whatever makes you feel confident, but that's what I would recommend you do. I plucked this section. I went all the way to the top, and then I started back at the bottom again because I just wanted to go through and thin out that hairline. No one has, well, not many people. I'll say for me, I don't want a thick hairline. I don't want my wig to look like that. I want it to look more as natural as possible. So as you see, as I'm plucking, it's kind of thinning out a little bit, and you can see it's starting to look like a natural hairline, and that's the goal. And I did speed up this video for the sake of time, but here I slowed it down so you can see how fast I was actually going. You want to go this speed or probably a little slower if you are a first timer. I'm telling you, take your time. You'll save yourself a bunch of headaches if you take your time. We're going to finish up on this side, and then once you feel like, you know, your hairline is looking more natural or mimics yours or mimics the hairline that you want to achieve, then you can flip it over to the opposite side. Notice I went from one side to the next. I skipped the middle on purpose. So I want to make sure that both sides look fairly the same. Like, they're not going to look identical. They're not going to look like twins, but you definitely want it to look as similar as possible on both sides. Once you're finished plucking that section, you know, that area, that grace part that we made where we braided it off. Now you want to take that braid apart and blend it into the section that you just plucked. And you want to follow that same pattern as I'm doing here and just pluck to match. Make sure your hairline matches those same gaps. So you pluck, skip a portion, pluck, skip a portion, pluck, and then just keep doing that throughout. Once you're done with your sides, you want to do this pretty much similar, not the same, but similar pattern with your middle. With the middle section of your head, if you notice, if you just look at your own hairline, the top of your hairline is a little bit thicker than your sides. So you saw where I plucked on both sides. I went all the way back towards the back of the frontal. If you notice in the middle, I'm not going all the way back. I'm going back just about an inch. And I'm mimicking that same pattern, that pluck and then skip, pluck and then skip. It's the same pattern. I'm just not going as far back. So that's the key thing that's going to kind of take away. And that's the reason why I sectioned it off the way that I did. Now, once everything is unbraided and everything is blended and you're plucking and you feel like your hairline is sparse enough to mimic a natural looking hairline, then you're pretty much done and you can stop there. But since this frontal came with the hair kind of like a half moon, the hair just went straight across, I wanted to kind of give some shape to it. So I did go in on the temples and I plucked a little bit of hair out. I just cleaned it up a little bit so that it could look as real as possible. But once you're done plucking and if you bleach your knots properly, this is what your end result should kind of be like. It just depends on how you want to pluck it. This is what it looked like after I constructed my wig and I installed it. Here I didn't have any glue on, but here I did. So you can see the difference and it's giving scalp, and that's the goal. So make sure you guys thumbs up this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.